TCU has its quarterback for 2026. It's got its quarterback coach and its running backs coach. Looking for a strength coach. And oh, by the way, did you know they won the Alamo Bowl? We're going to get into all of that on this episode of Frogs Insider. Hey, Frog fans, welcome into another episode of Frogs Insider. Jamie Plunkett here with Melissa Freebosser and Anthony Alabi, ready to break down what has been a very hectic early 2026 for TCU athletics. Guys, first and foremost, though, how are both of you doing now that we are in the new year?
Jamie, what an intro. I'm wondering how much I know that was like, I'm the one that's back here in California drinking wine. I don't know what substances you've consumed to have that kind of energy at the beginning of the broadcast, but
you ever heard of mushroom tea? That's
it's okay. But you know, the snow is nice in Tahoe right now is what I've heard, but no, listen, I'm out west this week, so you guys were nice enough to work around my schedule a little bit. My mom's having knee surgery, so T's and P's up to Jeannie, having a knee replacement tomorrow morning as we record this. But that's okay because I'm, drinking wine and we ate prime rib tonight, so life is great. And we have a quarterback.
So, we have a quarterback. Listen, I will say there is no snow on the ground in Fort Worth, just to clarify. I am drinking water. This is the life of an introvert with extrovert tendencies. That's what we But
that's why we work so well together. We're the same. Okay,
exactly
that's good.
Right. Exactly right. And shout out to Jeannie, the official mom of Frogs Insider. Hope that her knee surgery is smooth and straightforward.
Yeah, me too. I hope she's a good patient because I'm in charge all week. So
that's good. Well, you're on a red wine and prime ribs, so you're ready for the job. You're ready for the task at hand. Ready for the task at hand, Melissa, just like TCU's coaching staff was after learning about the departure of Josh Hoover into the transfer portal. He enters on December 18th, says that he won't play in the Alamo Bowl, and earlier today on Sunday, as of us recording this, has committed to Indiana, which I think was the front runner all along. That was a name that I heard really, really early in the process, actually before he officially hit the transfer portal. Thought Indiana was going to be a potential destination for him should he hit the portal. And now TCU, though, has addressed that opening on their roster with Harvard quarterback Jaden Craig. He was the number one target for TCU's coaching staff once they learned that Josh was leaving, and they followed through with getting him on campus this weekend and getting him signed before he left for a potential visit to another Big Ten school later this week. So really good job, I think, by TCU addressing their quarterback needs with Jaden Craig. He's Harvard's all-time passer with over 6,000 passing yards. He has 52 career touchdowns to just 12 career interceptions thrown and 11 rushing touchdowns to boot. He's not the biggest runner in the world, but he can keep you honest enough with his legs. Anthony, this is a question for you to kind of come out of the gate here. FCS quarterback translating to the Power Four. What do you think the biggest challenges for a guy like Jaden Craig will be as he tries to adjust to life at TCU?
Well, I think when you're moving up a level or any kind of level change in particularly in football, but in any sport, it's the speed of the game. And I think what you end up having is because you have better athletes than he would see in the Ivy League, you're going to have guys that are going to pursue faster from the defensive standpoint. You're going to have offensive linemen that move faster. The game itself is just going to move faster. But seeing that he's a Harvard quarterback, seeing that he has the intelligence to kind of adjust, I'm assuming, since he was at Harvard, I think that this wouldn't be an issue. Obviously, you will get all that stuff kind of taken care of in the offseason and the preseason, the speed of the game. But you look at guys like Trinidad Chambliss with Ole Miss. You look at a bunch of these players that are coming from Division II schools that aren't as big as the schools that they kind of transfer to, and they're shining. And I think a lot of it could be attributed to this idea of ignorance is bliss. Instead of coming in with this idea of like, oh, this is what it is, and I'm here, and giving all respect to, they come in with kind of this doe-eyed, like, I'm just going to play football. And I think that's what every coach wants their players to be, right? I remember my first game in the NFL, we were playing in the Hall of Fame game versus the Chicago Bears, and I came out in pregame warm-up, and I was like, this is wow. And Nick Saban comes up and he goes, the field is still the same as it was in high school. Everybody's still the same. And he goes, once the game starts, your eyes don't leave kind of this level. And I think that's the idea here, where it's no matter what we're seeing with the transfer portal, the one thing it is exposing is that it doesn't matter where you are. If you're a baller, you're a baller. If you can play, you can play. And I think if you're able to adjust and make those adjustments to speed and personnel and things like that, and you can shine, all power to you. I think he's going to be a great fit in this offense.
Yeah, Anthony, hold on. I got to give Anthony the most humble brag that's ever existed on this show is being able to drop my first NFL game and Nick Saban came up to me. So
that's all I have.
I feel like we need to end the show right now. I can't possibly respond to that.
Yeah, that's all Anthony has. That's all Anthony has besides his own Netflix series. But
look, I was interviewing Coach Mathis once, and he was like, "Yeah." So I was texting with Nick Saban. I'm like, "You text? I got to make an appointment. Like, I can't even."
but you can get to the person that can make you the appointment.
That's right.
I cannot
I know
do
the person
that.
that knows the person that can help me.
Yeah, there are far fewer degrees of separation for you. Shreve, Craig is a kid who, coming into this year and throughout 2025, was starting to appear on mock draft boards for NFL analysts. Mel Kiper had him as the 8th or 9th best quarterback in the 2025 draft. There were some other guys from other publications who were starting to talk about Jaden Craig as an NFL quarterback, a late round kind of guy, maybe 5th to 7th round kind of guy. Now that he has the opportunity to come up to the P4, this is, mutually beneficial, I think, for TCU and Jaden, is that the Frogs get a veteran quarterback who's good at processing, can make reads in a pro style offense like Gordon Samus's, but also Jaden Craig has the opportunity to prove, hey, I can do this at the Power 4 level and maybe boost his quarterback stock to be more of like the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round kind of guy.
There are 3 things that I think I know by this decision by TCU. And if I forget after 2 what the 3rd thing is, we'll just move on. Okay. Sure. But thing number 1 I know is that if there's an area I trust Sonny Dykes in, there's 2 areas I really trust Sonny Dykes in. Number 1, it's evaluation of talent for his staff. I think he's really exceptional about building staff. Number 2 is evaluation of talent when it comes to quarterbacks. So Josh Hoover, who was a guy who was oddly only recruited by Indiana and is now an Indiana quarterback finally, but not a guy that had a lot of skins on the wall or that a lot of schools were coming for, and obviously had a lot of success at TCU. He's got a long track record of developing quarterbacks. If this is a quarterback that Sonny Dykes thinks is a good fit for TCU, I, too, am tempted to think that this is a guy that's a good fit for TCU. Number 2, I think that this signing shows me that they still have a lot of faith in Adam Schobel. I know that there's a contingent of TCU fans that want to just turn the reins over to Schobel in the fall and let him run with it. I understand that. I want to keep him. He's a legacy. He's a kid that has a ton of talent. But this 1-year stopgap tells me Schobel needs a little bit more time to develop. He played at a small school Texas football. He probably does need some time, but they still believe he can be the guy, because if they didn't think he could be the guy, they would have gone and gotten somebody that had 2 or 3 years of eligibility more than likely. So that to me is number 2. And number 3, like you said, the ability of Jaden Craig is not in doubt. This is a kid that's been on NFL radars, who has NFL talent. Is he the sexiest name in the portal? Probably not, and that's okay. I think TCU is making a really good decision. I have no idea what his NIL number is. I don't know that we'll ever know what his NIL number is, but I'm guessing it's not the $4 or $5 million, $7 million that we're seeing thrown around by some of these other quarterbacks. So if you can get a really talented kid that has a great head on his shoulders, who's obviously incredibly intelligent, they can come in, who has something to prove, for NFL scouts, and will be a great teammate and a great part of the locker room and the culture of this program. And you can do it where it's not going to cost you money that might go to the offensive line or to the defensive, maybe the secondary, some of those other areas. This to me seems like it has the potential to be a big win all around for everybody involved. So obviously, Anthony, like you talked about, when you gave us all your NFL bonus few days, that's fine. There is something that he's going to have to prove at this level, but it sounds like the situation is really perfect for this to be successful for all parties involved. This is a big prove it year for Sonny Dykes. I don't think anybody goes into 2026 not understanding that. He would not be bringing this kid in if he didn't think that this kid could win TCU games. So I'm super fired up about it. He seems like an awesome human being on and off the field. I really look forward to having the chance to talk to him in the coming weeks, and I think he's going to be a great fit.
Absolutely. 2-time FCS Walter Payton Offensive Player of the Year finalist as well, Jaden Craig, coming in with a pretty strong and long resume to be TCU's quarterback here in 2026. And like you said, serve as that bridge to Adam Schobel, hopefully for 2027 and 2028. A kid who his last name means a lot still at TCU, as Anthony well knows. And,
all of them.
How many shovels did you play with, Anthony? Go ahead and tell us.
All of them. Aaron, Matt, Bo, all of them.
I had crushes on at least 2 of them. I won't say which 2 when I was a student.
Probably for the best. But yeah,
cousins look more like the brothers do.
Don't sell me out. Don't sell me out.
But yeah, so this is, I think, a really good decision for TCU. And then you also have their 2026 quarterback signee, Jack Dalton, who's going to be in the quarterback room in the spring and have an opportunity to connect with Craig right out of the gate. So, you've got 2 young guys who you're going to probably be depending on at some point in the future, who Craig is going to have the opportunity to help shape and mold just with his ball knowledge and his ability to process things as well. So really just a great addition. I think this was, again, TCU's number 1 quarterback target. This is who they wanted to go get. This is who they had identified. They went out, they got him on campus the first weekend that the portal was open, and now they have him signed. So there's no way you can cut it that it's not a win based on TCU's plan at this point.
And I think, like Melissa said, it's a win for both sides. I think he gets what he wants, where he gets to show that I can compete at this level and I can hang with these guys, and also TCU gets the solid veteran quarterback that they want that can play in a pro style system. So
I think it's to play with Terry Shelton and Jeremy Payne. Like, that's got to be pretty intriguing. And Kamari Pimpton and Lafayette, and there are some good pieces around to give him a great opportunity to be successful. So I think TCU fans, I understand their concerns and consternation, but I think this is a kid to be excited about for 2026 for sure. So I'm excited about him, and I think he fits what Samus wants to do as well, and that's protect the football, be able to move the chains with his feet when he needs to, even though that's not something he wants to do. Keep his eyes downfield and just make good reads and make good decisions.
I think it also points. I think it also points to the fact that Sonny Dykes wants to win now. I think he didn't. We weren't going to take this. Yeah, we weren't going to take this as a year to like let's put in Schobel. Nothing against him, but if he's young and he's kind of not really there yet, putting him in and allowing him to kind of blossom and develop over the season, I don't know if that's the ideal situation for TCU coming off of a year that they've had. I think Sonny Dykes saw that and he was like, "Look, we're making changes. Like, let's put the pieces together to win now. At least for the foreseeable year, right?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to clarify on Schobel too, right? This is not a sign of any kind of distrust in his development or anything like that. This is a kid who played at Columbus in Texas, right? That's 3A. And so you make the leap from 3A to Power 4. That's a pretty big jump. And so it's totally fine for him to get one more year of Power 4 practices and reps under his belt now in a new offensive system before you hand him the football and the reins to the offense in 2027.
Which, let's be honest, I mean, before all this, NIL transfer portal stuff, I mean, that was the norm. You didn't play till your junior, senior year. Like you sit, you develop, and then you come on. It's only in recent years that it's become this thing where it's like, there's no more developing anybody. It's just, let's just go, so.
Speaking of development, though, on the other side of the football, while a couple more safeties still get up and running, TCU has also signed Louisiana Tech safety Jacob Fields. Fields led the Bulldogs at Louisiana Tech with 92 tackles this year. He also had 3 interceptions, 2 of which he returned for touchdowns. He was named the Conference USA Co-Defensive Player of the Year for his season. He's a guy that's made 21 straight starts. He's appeared in 36 football games at the collegiate level over the last 3 years. Another veteran addition to TCU's roster who will theoretically take over the free safety spot vacated by Bud Clark, or at least be a guy in the rotation there. This is an addition that I really like for TCU. He's a ball hawking safety, which TCU fans love and have really adored in Bud Clark's 6-year tenure at TCU.
Cheers, Bud.
And
just a shade under a decade.
Right. He's the Van Wilder of TCU football along with Chase Curtis. But, this is a kid in Fields who I think will be able to kind of step right in as one of those veteran safeties and contribute at a high level. I think people look at schools like Harvard and Louisiana Tech and get really uncomfortable with those guys working to maybe play up at the Power 4 level. But the reality is that those guys have just as good, if not a better chance of competing and performing well at the Power 4 level than a guy who, say, spent some time on an SEC bench and now is transferring to a Big 12 or ACC school and hoping to start for the first time, right? Like, if you want the veteran talent, go get the best players at the G5 level and see if they can compete at the Power 4. And Jacob Fields kind of fits that mold.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him. Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, I think that he's again, like, if you want to see kids that you think can make the jump, get kids that have played a lot of football, right, and get kids that have been successful at that level. And he's been an elite player at his level. I think he's going to do well. I think this is an important eval for TCU. They've missed a little bit in the secondary, and obviously this is a big area of need they need to address this offseason. And Bud Clark, I mean, I don't think there's a single person that has followed this program that doesn't see Bud Clark as one of the ambassadors and one of the best Horned Frogs to ever wear a TCU uniform. He's so important to this program and to what we've been on the national stage for the last, 150 years. It's really important for him. But, he had some flaws in his game. He was very boom or bust. And so I think you bring a steadying presence, and knowing Jamel Johnson is coming back as well. I think you have a chance to have that become a strength. We saw that secondary at its very best and also at its worst in the Alamo Bowl. And so there's some areas that need to be addressed, but I think there's a lot of hope for the future with that group. You had some young guys that stepped up and played really, really well at the end of the season. To bring in another veteran voice in that locker room, I think is going to be critical. And I think he's a kid that can really play. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, is you need a kid that can really play. And I think he's going to be a great fit back there, replacing, theoretically, Bud Clark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, intrigued just to expand on what you said. When you have a guy that's played football and not someone who has just kind of been on a team, but it's a big team, but I've been on a team, I think fans need to kind of reevaluate their focus with this whole idea of like, well, it's not a known school, so I don't know. That's not what it is anymore. Nowadays, guys are going because they want to play football. They want to get, plays under their belt. They want to get tape. If you're in the transfer portal and you don't have tape, you have no business being in the transfer portal. And I think that's the kind of the idea of it, where you get these guys that are playing ball, they're on the field, they're in situations, they're competing, even if it's not at the Power 4 level, but they are competing, they're veterans, they know the game. And all that changes when you get to the next level is it actually gets easier, because now you have guys that play with you that are at a level. You have facilities that allow you to get better. You have the staff and the minds and the football minds that allow you to kind of squeeze the best out of your talent. So I think when you get guys like this, who, he went to Louisiana Tech. Okay, so what? He can play. And when they come to this, when they get to TCU, suddenly they know what they're doing. They help out other guys, and the rising tide raises all ships. So I think that, to agree with you, that's exactly what it is. He's played ball. So I think that makes a huge difference as compared to someone who's just been on a team.
Mm-hmm. And, when you think about the rest of the guys that TCU had visit this weekend, there's a trend there of veteran experience, because when you look at TCU's roster, what are they losing a tremendous amount of? Josh Hoover, Eric McAllister, Caleb Elarms-Orr, and Nnamdi Obiezor. They're losing 5 cornerbacks out of that room. They're losing Bud Clark and Austin Jordan, right? You've got to bring guys who have played football into this room so that they have some sense of leadership and veteran presence if you want to have success in 2024. As much as we want young guys to develop, 2026. I was going to
say, did we
where's the flux capacitor?
Guys, my phone has not stopped ringing all day. Okay, it's good. I've gotten 3 phone calls since we started talking about Jacob Fields. Like, this is an insane day, and I'm reading what I was leading into is one of the other guys that visited TCU this weekend is UConn cornerback Cam Chadwick, and in 2024 as a redshirt freshman, he had 47 tackles, 6 pass breakups. This year, he started in 13 games. He had 67 tackles and 4 interceptions, right? So this is a coverage corner, a big frame. He's 6'1", 185 pounds. He's a big body. So he is a UConn guy who came and visited TCU this weekend. I heard things went really, really well with him. We'll see if he ends up signing for TCU as well. We've got, TCU had another kid in this weekend, Michael Short, a linebacker from Virginia Tech, who in the first 4 games of Virginia Tech's season this year recorded 22 tackles and a sack before Brent Pry was fired. And at that point in time, Short said that he was going to sit out the rest of the season and then enter the transfer portal. So he preserved a year of eligibility. By doing that, he and Chadwick both have 2 more years of eligibility left. Short is a guy who reminds me a lot of Caleb Elarms-Orr, just in his physicality and his lateral speed. He's a guy that can get to the quarterback on the blitz, and we know that Andy Avalos' defense is at its best when you have a cornerback who can lock down in coverage and a linebacker who can get to the quarterback. So that's another guy that was on campus this weekend for a visit. We'll see if TCU ends up getting him. And then The fifth visitor this weekend was the punter from Louisiana Tech, who, I've got to pull up his name here really quick, guys. I'm going 100 miles an hour. Thank you. Yes,
that was helpful.
That was really good.
Chance.
John Hoyt Chance, a punter from Louisiana Tech, who also visited this weekend. He was, I believe, fourth in the FBS in average punt distance. He is a kicker as well. He had a long of 55 yards. A field goal of 55 yards this year was his career long. He's a kickoff specialist as well. Of 64 kickoffs this year, he had 57 touchbacks and only one kick went out of bounds. So this is a guy who punts the ball really far, kicks the ball really far, and can make some field goals as well. He was on campus this weekend visiting TCU as well.
Jamie, can I put you on the spot?
Sure.
Knowing what we already know, if I tell you I'm going to let you pick one blue chip prospect out of the portal, knowing everything we already know, if we have a quarterback, we know who's coming back, all those things, any position, what's the number one position you would pick for TCU to go get the best possible prospect? Money's not an option or not an obstacle here.
Money's not an obstacle here.
So there's one guy, like one position that you think TCU needs an elite prospect. What position is that?
Probably right tackle.
That's what I was going to say.
Probably right tackle. Yeah. I think, because here's my thing is, I know that a lot of folks were hopeful that Ben Morawski, the right tackle at UConn, would follow Gordon Samus to TCU. He committed to Michigan State today. He is one of the best run blocking tackles in the country. There's no doubt about it. His PFF grade was third best run blocking offensive tackle in the country. He was there's a qualifier to this, for offensive tackles who played at least 50% of their team's snaps. He was graded out as the 203rd best pass blocking tackle in the country last year. And I think when you look at what TCU wants to do offensively under Gordon Samus and what they need to be able to put in front of a guy like Jaden Craig, I think you need a little bit of a better, more capable pass blocking tackle than that. There's no doubt that he's going to be great in the run game at Michigan State. He's 6'7", 335 pounds. Yeah, when he gets his hands on you, he's going to put you in the dirt. Like there's no question there. But as far as can you seal the edge, can you keep an edge rusher from getting home, I think there might be legitimate questions that he's able to do that at the Power 4 level. So I would say right tackle. I think Ben Taylor-Whitfield showed you a good amount at left tackle the last half of the season. Maybe if you feel you can go get another left tackle, you can move him back to right tackle. But I have no qualms with them kind of rolling into the spring with him as left tackle. But you lose Quentin Harris to the portal. You lose Rashid Jackson to the portal. Carson Bruno, who really shored up the right tackle spot the last few games of the year, is graduating, so he's gone. Ryan Hughes is coming off of an ACL. And then it's a bunch of freshmen behind that, right? Like Witten Van Hoy, Samir Camacho, Killian Registe, some of these guys. I think you got to go find another tackle somewhere. 1B would probably be a center with actual center experience.
Yeah. I think we're gonna miss Colton Deary a lot in the spring until they figure out how to replace him.
Dylan Kinney is moving to center. I was told that earlier this week. So that's an option at center, but really you're losing your first two centers because the guy who was taking snaps when Deary was out of the game was Remington Strickland. He's graduated as well. So you've got a guy moving to center. I was told before the Alamo Bowl that there's a possibility that Cade Bennett could roll out at center next spring, but either way you cut that, you're talking about a guy who hasn't consistently snapped the ball being your starting center in 2026. I don't know that that's necessarily the best plan. Granted, I don't know how much centers are running right now. I know how much a center costs for college basketball right now, and it's ridiculous. I don't know how much.
Too much for TCU to have gotten one, but
right.
Just get one of those former G League or international.
Yeah. Can we go get like an NFL Europe guy or something? Like what's a CFL? Yeah.
Just bring them on over.
Ridiculous. But so look, great weekend of recruiting out of the portal for TCU, getting Jaden Craig and Jacob Fields signed on the dotted line. 3 more visitors who maybe we'll hear some good news here once we finish recording this episode on Sunday night that they've come on board as well. But I know that those were all productive visits, and then they've got more visitors coming this week. I would be shocked if they didn't have a couple offensive linemen on campus.
I was going to say, I hope it's O-line. Yeah,
they're reportedly Mekhi Mason, one of the linebackers from Louisiana Tech who had a really productive year, is going to be on campus later this week, and some other guys as well. We've got the full list over at hornfrogblitz.com. But I think this has been a really good start to the portal for TCU. And one last thing to note on the portal before we move on to other things here. People need to realize this is the only portal window before the season starts. Right? They did away with that post-spring practice portal window. So once you get guys locked into the roster after this 15 days or whatever, they're on your roster until the fall unless the coach leaves. So what a refreshing thing that will be for personnel staff all over the country and for fans to be able to know, hey, these guys are on the team. These guys are going to be the guys we roll with in the spring into the fall. Much smoother, I think, on the back end, even though it is a little bit of a hectic window to try and get everything fit in before enrollment.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Oh no, it's just it adds a bit of a complication with school, right? Because it doesn't line up.
Oh, is that still a thing?
The what's the thing you go to university for? Academics. So it adds a little bit of a wrinkle in there because the other one before it worked out school wise, but now, I mean, who cares?
I got on academic advisor TikTok somehow for universities, and it made me sad. One other point I want to make about TCU and the portal. I know that we all want to see the big names come through, but one thing we need to give a ton of credit to the staff for is retention. They have proven over the last several years that when they want guys to stay, and when you look at some of the most talented kids on the roster, when you look at the kids that were really popping off at the Alamo Bowl that we'll talk about here in a minute, those guys are coming back. Yep. They are committed to returning. And when you think about, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but when you think about the guys you have to build around, both on the offense and the defense, that is a really, really strong core. And it's not for lack of other schools trying. I mean, we've seen guys kind of flirt with it, talk about it. We saw Jamel Johnson a year ago put his name into the portal and come back and look at the development that he had this year. I mean, that is a huge part. You can't always build your team with 45 to 60 new guys, although Baylor is going to be apparently trying this offseason. Being able to bring back the talented kids that you believe in is a huge part of a team being able to be successful. And Anthony, like you said, next year this season is a win now season for TCU. And so being able to build on guys that are familiar with the program, even if there is a new OC, I think is really critical to the success. And again, for all of the things we want to say about culture and locker room and Sonny Dykes, he has proven time and time again that these athletes are bought in, and they're bought into TCU, and they're bought into his program, and they're bought into the culture there. And he's done a really, really good job of that. And I'd be remiss not to mention the success that he's had in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I think like you said, he knows staff, he knows how to develop people, and he has an eye for talent. And I think, when you combine all those things and you look at what he's picking up and what he's looking at, I'm trusting it,
Yeah.
Speaking of trust, friends, is there anything you can trust more than TCU facing a double-digit deficit in the Alamo Bowl? Because
you're such a pro.
For the third time in program history, TCU faced a double-digit second-half deficit and just came back to win like it was no problem at all. I looked over, looking over. I was standing down on the sideline for the overtime.
We all saw you.
Listen, there was a photo that sometimes the degree still shows up every once in a while. And
it's all right.
Jeremy Payne's touchdown. Yeah, I threw my hands in the air because it was a ridiculous play. But I looked at a couple people that I was standing with, some admins in TCU's athletics department. I said, it's not in doubt. It's destiny at this point. And then 5 minutes later, Jeremy Payne scores that touchdown. TCU 30, USC 27. The Frogs knock off the number 16 team in the country. Who cares if they were missing 11 starters or whatever it was? Because TCU was missing its quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's OC.
Ken Seals, goes down in TCU backup quarterback legend lore, right up there with Bram Kohlhausen, who was the honorary captain who walked him out onto the field before the game. Really cool story for Bram to be able to be there. But Ken Seals, Jeremy Payne, Gil Jackson at cornerback.
Yeah,
Terry Shelton. We got a little bit of a glimpse of the future of TCU football in this Alamo Bowl win. Melissa, you and I talked about it in the postgame live show, but Anthony, watching the Alamo Bowl, what was going through your mind and what was your reaction to the win?
I mean, look, I agree with you. Anytime, and for me, I'm just going to say because it's my hometown, San Antonio brings out the magic. I think it's just, I think that's what it is. They love being there. It's the river walk. There's special water in there. I don't know if it's sanitary, but it's in there.
It is special.
So, sure. But yeah, watching this game, you could see that the one thing that I saw was buy-in. I saw that the guys that stayed, they bought in, and a big part of that is McAllister. He galvanized that team. He brought them together, and for me, when you see it goes back to that old saying. I can't remember what coach said. It was like Levy or somebody in the NFL, but he was like, "You can never underestimate the power of the human will." And I think at the end of the day, when you look at this team, they willed themselves to a victory. And I think that they fought. I mean, you look at the way Ken Seals played. You look at the way that every single guy. I pointed out a few on X, the offensive line play. I mean, there were some plays there where Whitfield pulled around the edge and just completely obliterated a guy. And so when you look at that and you look at these guys and you see that they were bought into this game, this wasn't just a throwaway bowl game for them. It was a statement game. It was a time for them to come together after it was devastating for them. I mean, they lost Hoover, who has been their quarterback, kind of their captain the entire year. And then all of a sudden he's gone. And you kind of feel like the rug has been pulled out from you. And McAllister, the other leader, came back, brought them together, and they went out there and showed who they were supposed to be. Granted, yes, I understand all of the factors. USC, had people out. We were missing our quarterback, all that. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, as we talked about, talent is talent. USC had people that were talented. They didn't look like they were missing 11 players. That wide receiver core was ridiculous. I mean, there were some of those plays that I was like, what? And
that one-handed
touchdown.
The one-handed. I mean, the number 16 the kid was a true freshman. They had talent. So let's not play that game, right? So at the end of the day, this is a TCU team that came together and showed what they had. You were at number 15 in the country. So as Coach Patterson used to say back in the day, you beat the people you're supposed to beat. That's the whole point. And so if that was the case, they should have come in here and just romped on us, and they didn't. And they didn't because it was the power of our will. And I think that's what was shown and what was on full display at the Alamo Dome, for the Alamo Bowl.
Absolutely. And just what a fun football game. What a fun football game.
It was a lot of fun.
And, we talked prior to that game on the last episode about what a win against USC could do as a jumping pad or as a launching pad into 2026 for TCU. Melissa, we already kind of mentioned it, but Terry Shelton, Gil Jackson, some of these younger guys on the roster that are going to be those developmental pieces in 26 and beyond. I thought we saw some really good stuff from them.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is what bowl season is supposed to be. You're supposed to have great storylines and great moments and memorable things, and you're supposed to give you hope for next year. Right. And Sonny talked about that very openly all throughout the process of this was like an extended spring ball for this team. And knowing that they had guys that they could build on, and knowing that Jeremy Payne was going to get the bulk of the reps, and knowing that Terry Shelton was going to get to step in for an injured Jordan Dwyer. I think that you see that and you go, man, like there's something to build on here. And then and the flip side of that, you get the Ken Seals story, which is the most perfect bowl story, college football story in history, ever. Right? The hometown kid who comes back and sits behind and his first start. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. From a standpoint of what do we know about TCU based off of this? I don't know. I don't know that we know anything more than we do, a week ago. But at the end of the day, I think that the fan base has hope. The fan base is galvanized. The fan base is back together. I think that we're excited about the future. I think that you see those young guys ball out the way that they did. And you think, man, like this is something we can build on because they did it against a talented team under a bright spotlight as a standalone game with the world potentially watching. I think those things all really do matter. And I'll be honest, like I gave you a hard time, Jamie, for celebrating, but I was very teary-eyed at the end of that because I really thought about the senior class and these guys that had poured into it. And at the end of the day, like, we can get frustrated and football can be what it is and bowl games can be, they can be as meaningless as you want them to be or not to be. But I think that we've had a really special senior class and a group of guys that have really poured into this university, that have cared, that have been great to us as media, that we've built great relationships with. And it was really cool to see them go out with that kind of moment. And my degree shows all the time. I don't hide the fact that I wear very purple tinted glasses. That does not bother me. I don't claim to be an actual journalist, right? So it was pretty special to see that team come together despite all of the obstacles, to rally from a big deficit once again in San Antonio, and to produce a moment that for the fan base, I think was really special and really magical, and capture kind of the excitement of college football for a night. Like, those things mattered. If we want to be the TCU that we got really accustomed to being on a national stage, those are the kind of games that you need to win to launch yourself. And now, will it be meaningless if we start 0-4 in September? Sure. But we're a long way from that. I think that there's positive momentum going forward right now, and reason to buy back in. And I'm hoping that the people that can afford to make a difference from this program saw that and went, okay, we know we have the right pieces in place. We just need a little bit more to get us over the hump. And I think that the team did what it needed to do in San Antonio in order to make people feel like that's something they can believe in.
Absolutely.
Fully agree with you there. Roster changes aren't the only changes, though, that are happening for TCU this week. Staff changes are happening. TCU loses its offensive coordinator, Kendall Briles, to South Carolina. That means that their quarterback coach is also gone, because he served in both of those roles. Jimmy Smith, TCU's running backs coach this past year, is headed to take the same role at Georgia Tech. He was a high school coach in Atlanta for a long time. That move for him makes a ton of sense as well. I hope he has a great amount of success at Georgia Tech, who loves to run the football. So I think that'll be a really good fit for him. But that leaves TCU with 2 openings on their coaching staff as far as position coaches go. And they filled both of those right as the transfer portal opened on Friday. Quarterback coach is going to be Brad Robbins. He spent this past year as Tulsa's offensive coordinator and quarterback coach. Prior to that, he was the quarterback coach for Gordon Samus at UConn. So they have that pre-existing relationship. He knows how to get a quarterback fit, retrofitted for that offense. And when you put a guy who has coached quarterbacks in this offense before with a guy as cerebral as Jaden Craig, you see the vision there, I think, for that quarterback room from a coach and a player perspective. And then at running backs coach, Melissa, we ran into a very old friend of ours in San Antonio this week, in USC running backs coach Anthony Jones, who was here in TCU in 2022, did, a transformational job specifically with Amari DiMercato that season. I thought he was fantastic getting him up to speed. And, DiMercato, going on year 3, year 4 in the NFL now.
Making money, kid.
Really cool to see. Had a chance to talk to him. Obviously, his family still lives in Fort Worth. He was a candidate for this role as well, but it ends up going to Antonio Wilcox, who for the last 3 years has been the running backs coach at UConn. He was the guy who developed 1,000-yard rusher Cam Edwards this year, has really done a great job with running backs in this offense, and, will be able to get guys like Jeremy Payne and John Denman up to speed really quickly in this offense as well, not to mention Amonte Martin and Guivery Graham, the 2 high school running backs that TCU signed for the 2026 class. So Antonio Wilcox is your new running backs coach. Brad Robbins is your new quarterbacks coach. And with that, TCU's on-field coaching staff, position coaches roles are all filled. Thoughts on those 2 hires?
I mean, I think you've got to give the new OC the opportunity to have input on that, right? And I think that we all praised Sonny Dykes for going outside of his comfort zone. And so would I have loved Anthony Jones to come back to Fort Worth? 100%. Absolutely love the guy. I think he's a wonderful human being. But by the same token, I'm really excited about the guys that come in. I mean, I think Robbins and Wilcox have really great track records of developing guys at a high level. I think they're familiar with Samus's system. And when you're bringing in a new OC, it's important to have guys that can get these players up to speed. Frankly, at this point, if Jaden Craig is cool with it, and Adam Schobel's cool with it, and Jeremy Payne is cool with it, and John Denman's cool with it, I'm cool with it, because those are the guys that are going to make it work or not, right? And so I think I've spent more time kind of researching Robbins than I have Wilcox at this point, to be perfectly honest, and I've been impressed with this track record. I would love to see him bring the portal house to Fort Worth. That he was publicizing that quite a bit, and I think that is I don't know that you need it maybe at TCU, but what a cool idea. What a clever way that Tulsa is going about this thing. But that's neither here nor there. So, I mean, these are guys that are qualified. I think they're good at what they do. And if the players are on board with it and they're bought in, then heck yeah, I'm bought in until I have a reason not to be. And I don't think I'm going to have that.
Anthony, people make a huge deal about the head coach. People make big deals about coordinators. But you know better than anyone, at the end of the day, the position coach is critical to the operation.
Absolutely. Yeah, your position coach is the one that, I mean, that's your ride or die, right? That's your day in and day out. That's the guy that's going to see the ups and downs that you have on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, sometimes in a practice or in a game or anything like that. I know for me, whenever I look back on my playing career, I always look at my position coaches. You know who your coordinators are. You know who the guys that create the schemes, but the guys that are in the room with you, that's who you spend most of your time watching film with. Right. So I think it's an important thing to get for Coach Samus, to get guys that he trusts and guys that he knows can develop players the way he wants them developed. And look, shout out to Sonny Dykes for like giving that kind of leeway to be like, who do you like? What do you want? And not trying to kind of impose what he wants or the coaches that he's looking for. I think it shows, like you said before, Tree, where it's like he trusts his staff, he understands what his staff needs, and he's willing to do that. It's almost that like perfect dad mentality, right? Where it's like, I know it sucks, but I'll give you enough rope to hang yourself, but just, I got to watch out for you too. So I think it's nice bringing in Antonio Wilcox. As I understand it, he's an exciting coach that's on the rise. People have been hot on him for a little bit now. And look, from what I saw in the Alamo Bowl, I'm pumped about Payne and Denman. Denman is my like dark horse. I'm like that guy, like nobody's talking about him, but like he's doing things. And so
putting his foot down in the ground on that touchdown run, that little cutback.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'm looking at that, and I don't know this for certain. I can't tell you for sure, but just looking at and kind of putting the pieces together and beautiful minding it, you're looking at Coach Samus's. I want to call him Gordy, but I'm like, I don't know you like that yet.
He goes by Gordy.
I know, you and like, Nick Saban are like this. You can call him Gordy.
I don't call him Nick though. So it's like, but it's one of those things where Coach Samus, I feel like he's going to look at that and be like, I got these two, right? And if you look at it, they've dealt with committees before. I mean, nobody likes it if you're playing fantasy, but it's like a committee, having Denman, having Payne, that's a nice little 1-2 punch as it was on display in the Alamo Bowl. So I feel like there's going to be a lot. His role is going to expand in this offense. But as far as the coaching staff goes, I'm in agreement. I'm happy about those choices. I think it's a good sign anytime you see an offensive coordinator bringing in guys that he's worked with before, and the fact that they want to come back and work for you, and they want to be with you, and they want to come back to TCU. Look, it's a win all the way around as far as the coaching staff goes for me.
Yeah, this year Wilcox was on 24/7 Sports 30 under 30 coaching list.
That's what it was.
He's 29 years old. An up-and-comer in the business, and like both of you have talked about at this point, one of Sonny Dykes' biggest talents, one of his best qualities, I think, is identifying coaching talent, and went out of his box to find a quality coach for the OC, and now has worked with that OC to find 2 quality position coaches to replace the folks that are going out the door.
It's cool. It's cool that Wilcox and Bud Clark are the same age. That's pretty cool.
Oh my God. Chase Curtis.
Chase Curtis might be older. Chase Curtis is 30.
Legitimately like 25.
Chase Curtis's Instagram post legitimately made me cry, though. What a great freaking frog, man. And what a guy.
He was so fun to talk to. He's the best. He's been fun to talk to since I was like 19 years old.
Yeah, I was 30, so
he was so fun to talk to leading up to the Alamo Bowl, because I mean, he was just like, I would not change a single thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't change any of the injuries, wouldn't change any of the experience, just wouldn't change a single thing. And I get to go out there and throw the pads on one more time.
I'd say go be a GA, Chase, but he's got to have a doctorate at this point. So GA might be a step down.
Might be a step down, yeah.
See him in the medical field here pretty quickly. But
don't you have a law degree? No.
TCU built a law school for Chase Curtis.
Yeah, Chase Curtis, JD.
They're like, we got to keep this guy around. He's got every degree we have to offer at this point.
Oh my God!
Figure it out.
I love it.
One position that is still open. Obviously, Chase is a true Horned Frog. Really cool to see the Frogs manage to keep Kamori and Pimpton.
Yeah.
The LSU transfer who was banged up this year, thought about entering the portal, ended up re-signing with TCU, and is going to stick around for another year, because that's, I think, a big addition for the tight end room, which is still maybe something that the Frogs need to address outside of like Kiowa and Pimpton. But They bring in a JUCO kid from the 26th class. Braden Bach was a highly regarded tight end local kid who signed in the 26th class as well. So maybe this is going to be the year of Pimp, as they call him, at TCU. But
hey, one catch, one TD. Gotta like those odds.
Anywhere's number 88, which historically in DFW has been a pretty solid for a player.
Let's not jinx them with any Cowboys stuff though. Just now,
keep your belt on. That's all. Just
yeah.
Michael Irvin, avowed TCU fan, apparently.
CeeDee Lamb, the most normal wide receiver to wear 88 in Cowboys history,
right? Super normal.
Totally normal guy. But one position that TCU still needs to fill now is its strength and conditioning role, as Kaz Kazadi and TCU have parted ways. As Jeremy Clark over at Horned Frog Blitz reported less than 48 hours ago at the time of this recording, Kaz Kazadi obviously came over with Sonny Dykes from SMU, has pro experience as a strength coach as well, was largely responsible from a nutrition standpoint, from a strength standpoint, of revolutionizing how TCU philosophically looked at those things, was a large reason for this new weight room that the football team has, the new recovery center that this university built,
the snow room,
the sauna.
Was he responsible for
Jamie hit that before the show started.
Yeah, that's right. He was, but Kaz Kazadi was largely responsible for.
I got you, Tree.
Yeah,
I heard it.
Yeah, no, I'm plowing through.
I heard Jamie's plowing through it.
Jamie's known me for more than 10 years. He just keeps going. He just keeps rolling through. He knows.
Listen, we are on track to be able to talk about basketball. That is the goal.
Where's the snow room?
Right. Where's the snow room?
I need it.
It is TCU, so
did get a tour. It's not SMU. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's true. Fair.
Let's be honest here. But no, Kaz Kazadi largely responsible not only for reshaping how TCU football approached strength and conditioning as well as nutrition, but revolutionized how TCU's athletic department looked at it, and was a big reason for the new weight room, big reason for the new recovery facilities, and has installed a really strong staff at TCU. I think we can acknowledge all of that, and also acknowledge that TCU football didn't really ever look like the strongest, more physical team at times this season, for a large part of the season, especially in those losses, especially in the trenches. There were, I think, some deficiencies that maybe can be addressed with a new strength and conditioning coach.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the best teams that I was a part of at TCU were the strongest teams. And I think when TCU is kind of at its best when it's making that a priority, especially going into the offseason that we're going into. I think, when it comes down to Sonny Dykes felt like they needed to change. And I think anybody that they bring in, that's probably going to be a big priority, is like, we need to get stronger, and speed obviously comes with it, but I think the strength, especially in the trenches, is going to be a major issue. Because if I had to say anything too, I'd say that. I'd say the offensive line could use a good, pump up in strength. They need to get about 25-30% stronger, establish that line of scrimmage a lot more, be dominant on that line, and not absorb as much as they were this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think two things can be true. I think you can say, number one, that it was time for a change. I think that the previous regime's program was a little bit outdated, and we started to see that. We saw that in injuries. We saw that in performance. And so a fresh voice and a fresh style and what's the word I'm looking for? Philosophy was really important. I can also acknowledge that there's only so much that strength training staff could do, because I'll never forget what it felt like being at the national championship game and the media availability, and watching TCU kind of walk out at the end of their availability, and watching Georgia walk in and thinking, oh my God, these are two completely different levels of football. I've never felt, I'm a tall person. I'm not a small person. I am nearly 6 feet tall, and I felt so tiny amongst those Georgia football players. And it was like the backups that walked in first. I was like, oh, we're like, this is going to be a long night for us. Like, I knew that immediately. But I can also say that I don't think that the physicality and the toughness that we saw be so dramatically different in 22 carried over 23, 24, 25. And so, again, I think that give credit to Sonny Dykes, Kaz Kazadi, someone he's worked with for a long time, and assuming that this was a choice that he made. that is a difficult choice to move on and to try to do something different. And so I think that, again, this speaks to Sonny Dykes realizing that this is a really, really important year. And if there are things he can do to materially change the outcomes of his team, then he needs to do them. So this has got to be a super attractive job for people with the facilities that you have, with the financial investment that TCU's made in this program. I don't know what this means for the support staff. And I will say I have so much respect and so much love for a lot of those support staff guys. I spent a lot of time around them in fall camp and spring ball, and just some really, really good men and women that have been a part of that staff. And I would love to see some of them retained. But I don't know how that all works. So I'm not going to say much more. I'm not going to give a whole lot of my opinions on my thoughts, because I don't know that that's a good thing for me to do right now, because I've been drinking wine. But I will say that I think that there's a chance to make a material impact on this team in a positive direction. And I'm excited to see who Sonny Dykes identifies as the person that can do that.
Daryl, go ahead.
No, continue.
I was just going to say Daryl Bauer from Troy is a name to know in this process as well. Spent time at Houston in West Virginia in the Dana Holgerson eras of both of those universities. That's a name to watch in this search. With Kaz Kazadi's departure, TCU no longer has any of the former staffers from the early teens Baylor era that had been part of the coaching staff and strength staff and other parts of the staff as well, which is, I think, a notable thing for a good portion of TCU's fan base.
But Jamie, can I ask you, has that had anything to do with the why? Because I know there's been a lot of talk about that. I don't feel like it has anything to do with the why, right?
No. There was
clarify that for us.
There was a rumor that's, I don't know if it started on our site or not, but you know how our posters get over.
Do I? Yeah, love them.
They will say things.
They're buying you lake houses. It's great.
I've got the lake house clause starting in year 3, but Jeremy's got so many at this point. There was a question of whether or not the Bryles departure and, by proxy, the Kaz departure were related to Kendall's last name, related to their affiliation with Baylor, and whether or not there were donors that were unwilling to
That's
donate,
what I thought.
Right?
That was
Anthony started the rumors. Good to know.
Okay, cool. So now I know who you are.
He actually talked to Nick Saban, and Nick Saban said,
"What?
No, but just to fully clarify, none of that had anything to do with Kendall's departure. None of that had anything to do with Kaz's departure. This was Sonny Dykes taking a look at the on-field product, saying it's not good enough. What do I need to fix? And he identified the offense, and he identified the strength and conditioning as 2 areas that he thought there was an opportunity to improve. And so that is what Sonny Dykes did. There's all the other stuff is just message board
happenstance.
Message board rumors. So, but Kaz Kazadi
Gotcha.
will be working somewhere else, and Daryl Bauer at Troy is a name to know in that search.
We didn't talk about this, but I was just thinking about it. Alamo Bowl, when we talked about the impact of winning the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like that has a huge impact on the transfer portal, because guys saw that game and they saw the team that it is. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, players like Craig come in and they see that and they are like, yeah, I want to play here for sure. I just think that's another thing to add on to this narrative of like bowl games don't matter. If you go by Matt Leinart, who's, I don't know.
I was told that was not about this game. I choose to believe it was about the game. So I'm just going to suspend reality there.
I'll tell you, like I told my wife when I call somebody out on something and she's like, no, I don't think that's what they're doing. I'm a big believer in people know what the fuck they be doing. So if you tweet out or X out, if you tweet out, nobody cares or it doesn't matter.
During the game, during the game,
expect to get back everything that you put into that with your Twitter, with the Twitter fingers. You know what I mean? Like it all sounds good, but you got your ass handed to you in San Antonio, and that's just the end of it. See the competitors coming. I'm about to throw this computer, man. Hold on.
Don't do that. We need you on again. Yeah, those are expensive. Those laptops. Yeah.
One last question on the Alamo Bowl. Everybody's going to make a lot of noise about Jeremy Payne's touchdown run. his second most impressive run of the night was the 22-yarder that set up his first touchdown run of the night. And Anthony, I want to know from you, because we saw Ben Taylor Whitfield pull on that run, and he sent one of the USC linebackers into another dimension.
Extra syrup.
And just
Extra
did you come up out of your chair when you saw Ben lay that guy
First of all, I was like a white chick and this shows my age, but I was like a white chick at a Michael Jackson concert. I was like, like this dude.
Hold on, for timeout. I don't know how I'm supposed to take that as the white chick in the room. I'm going to say compliment. Also, Michael Jackson might not be the reference you want to use here, but okay,
I know.
Go on.
It's it takes years to develop these quick clips. But no, the way it was set up perfectly. And my poor wife, I feel so bad because she sat here and she had to watch me in front of our TV acting like an analyst. And I'm just, you see this here, the double team's hip to hip. They're working up to the second level. They're sealing off. And then you have the tackle coming square off of that hip. And he did. He came square off, like just right off of that, smacked the shit out of that linebacker and just continued to drive his legs, put him into the dirt, and then just extra syrup on that pancake. It was phenomenal. But it points to the bigger thing of this is what that offensive line is capable of. And I think when you get those pieces in, and I'm hoping in the transfer portal we get some interior line. We got Noah McKinney. That I'm excited about him. To see what's going on. But you have these guys. If we can get them to come in for that interior part, that can really move. And if we get a right tackle that has that ability, I think it means a ton. Look, you talked about the right tackle spot, the kid that ended up going to Michigan State from UConn. I understand that he's not the greatest pass protector of all time, but at right tackle, typically they're not supposed to be. They're supposed to be serviceable. They're supposed to be pretty good, but a right tackle is supposed to be a road grader. That guy's meant to run the ball there, to really plow guys into the ground. The left tackle is the one that's your artist. He's the guy that's the pass protection, former basketball player, always, those guys. They're quick on their feet. They're always facing the best pass rushers. So for me, if we can get that going, I mean, that they didn't have the greatest games, both USC and TCU. They averaged under 4 yards a carry, right, rushing. But when it counted, the offensive line came through. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I got from this game was that in those moments where we needed those yards, when we needed that first down, when we needed to kind of set things up, they were able to kind of get that done.
Can I make 2 points here I want to make? Number one, Anthony, can we create a podcast for you on YouTube where you just look at the worst offensive line plays? I'm thinking specifically of Howard Sampson at Texas Tech, and you just tell us like what went wrong and just the chaos and just narrate 100%. Them. Number two, okay, good. It's done. We're signing that up. We're making that happen. Number two, we have not mentioned this yet, and there's 2 things we should mention about the Alamo Bowl. I'm going to blow by number one, and that's the fact that USC had first and goal from the 2 and had to settle for a field goal. That was a huge moment in the game.
Jonathan Bax was the reason that
RIP.
First play did not have success. Anyway.
Insane. And then number 2, can we talk about the absolute insanity it is that TCU and Sonny Dykes and Mark Tomadol set out a kicker who had not kicked since week 1 of the season to make a game-tying field goal? Week 3, sorry. I can't, the numbers aren't real. Week 3 of the season against ACU, then in that case, had not kicked since that game to do a game-tying field goal with 3 seconds left, and he nailed it. And like Kyle Lemmerman, I just need to give so many props to that kid. He looked great. He struggled as a freshman, looked great in week 1, got hurt in week 3 apparently, and then came out, and I didn't even notice he was kicking until the second extra point because he was just so natural and comfortable out there. So I'm super happy for him. He's a kid that has so much talent, and I think just struggled with the adjustment and the mental aspect of it as a true freshman, and really looked like he was poised to have a big year, and made that huge kick. And we talk about momentum. I think for him, that can be a big momentum booster.
For sure.
Absolutely. One last note. Because of that offensive line play in the last 3 games, Jeremy Payne has the most rushing yards in a 3-game stretch for a TCU running back since Imani Bailey, the first 3 weeks of the 2023 season. Bailey had him beat by 7 yards, 377 rushing yards in those first 3 games of 23, 370 rushing yards for Jeremy Payne the last three games of 2025.
Look, I don't want to say that all of that run game started happening because we started talking shit on this podcast, but
it's constructive feedback.
Yeah, they've got some staff openings right now. So Anthony, just saying, they've got some staff openings.
I got a 7 and an 8-year-old. No, thank you. I have. I'm doing enough here. Enough. I had to cook and clean before that. I'm tired, guys. I'm tired. I'm real tired. I want to do more. You see these grays? This is. I'm tired, guys. Not
can't see mine. I'm tall. It helps. Yeah.
Right.
Mine are in my beard.
Right. We can see yours, Jamie.
See, it all starts here.
It's distinguished. It's very distinguished for you guys. Yeah.
Gray.
That's good.
Gray. Yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
I have 2. One just turned 12 this month. One turns 8 tomorrow.
See, and that's what it is. That's why there's 2 spots.
That's right.
Just right there.
I never had gray hair, so I started teaching. So
I walked out into my living room at one point this afternoon, and my 8-year-old was riding a tricycle with his football helmet on, carrying a big ninja sword.
Like
that was signed by Randy Jackson.
An actual sword, or
he's 8. We're not giving him a real sword.
You trying to get child protective services? What are you talking about? No, it was not real.
Listen,
it was like this long, but it was a Halloween bamboo sword. My gosh,
can still be dangerous, Jamie. Can still be dangerous.
He smacked it with quite a few things. Anywho, speaking of smacking something.
Oh,
okay.
TCU men's basketball.
I'm gonna turn.
Turn the lights down, Anthony. Play some music. TCU men's basketball allowed Baylor men's basketball to lead for 10 seconds of the game on Saturday afternoon. Really kind of them, I think, to give Baylor that one moment of a lead before starting the Big 12 season 1-0, going to 11-3 on the year with a 69-63 win over Baylor in Fort Worth, Texas. Big win for Jamie Dixon's program. And Melissa, frankly, we saw the recipe for men's basketball success this season in the level of defense that was played. Not only individual defense by every single guy on the court. Harding had a great defensive day. Jace Posey and Michael Robinson were elite defensively against Baylor's 2 leading scorers for the majority of the day, but in how they stayed attached to each other and how they communicated and how they rebounded. They were +9 on the boards against a much taller Baylor team. That was the recipe for success for TCU. And then they shot 40% from 3-point range, which we've been expecting them to do for most of the year. So really good quality win to open Big 12 play for TCU men's basketball.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while and you've let me get into my coach speak with TCU men's basketball, I've always talked about help the helper. And that's been kind of the missing element with the defense. And I think that this team does that at such an elite level, and that it's not just the first guy, it's not just the second guy, but the third guy is always there in rotation. And you've got to give a ton of credit to David Punch in that regard. And I think Xavier Edmonds has come a long way defensively too this season. It so often relies on, and Michael Robinson too, who's been forced to play the 4. It relies on that third level defender to be able to rotate, to be aware, to know what's going on. And I thought they did such a great job coming off of their man in the paint, but being able to rotate back. And I think it was Micah that talked about it post game, that their bigs are so mobile that they can take more chances. They can go hedge on the screen farther and still get back in time in order to be able to keep guys from being super active in the paint and taking advantage of the size discrepancy that TCU is up against so often. So David Punch had a really bad first half. You can't say anything else. It's a really bad first half. And he responded so well in the second half. And Jamie Dixon gave a great anecdote in the post game about Greg Anthony. He pulled David Punch aside, Jamie did, and was talking to him and trying to hype him up ahead of the second half. And Greg Anthony came over and talked to him too, and David really responded. And that's just see a true sophomore to be able to pick himself up off the mat in a big game like that and play like that. Michael Robinson, I think, has been the unsung hero of this team. He's put up big numbers, but what he's doing from a leadership and a communication standpoint has been so critical to their success the last 10 games. He's taken a leap this year, and he might be my favorite player on that team. I love how expressive and the enthusiasm and just the love of basketball that he plays with. So I'm definitely biased towards him, but I just think those two guys, Jace Posey, what he brought off the bench and his athleticism and his just desire to have his hands on, this is going to come out wrong, every single ball that is out there. I just think
50-50s, right? Win the 50-50s.
Even when it's not 50-50, he's all over it. But they're playing the style that Jamie Dixon has always wanted to play, and they're doing it successfully, and they're able to overcome some of their deficiencies from a roster standpoint. So I watched that whole game on the plane on my flight out to Salt Lake City before I watched a very less impressive defensive performance from the TCU women. But again, this team is going to have to battle every single game. But they showed that they can beat teams that are quote unquote better than them, especially on their home court, by playing the type of defense that they played. And that's got to give you hope as a fan that this team can make some noise and to keep on that bubble for a tournament spot.
Michael Robinson with his second double-double of the season, a team-high 13 points, a game-high 10 rebounds, was really good to see from him. Lataris Lelevicius, who has struggled shooting the three,
finally
hit two three-pointers from the corner early on to kind of set the shooting tone for TCU, which I thought was really important. It was interesting to me, Baylor came out in that 1-3-1 zone to start the game. And as everybody knows, right, all the lay folk know that a 1-3-1 zone is very susceptible to the corner three, which is a wildly popular shot in basketball right now. And so you see LT hit one, you see Micah hit one, you see Jaden Pierre hit one from the top of the key. And that
deep from the top of the key.
Tee, from the logo, basically, a logo three. And all of that was happening while TCU did not allow Baylor to score in the first 3 minutes of the game. Baylor also did not score a field goal, did not make a basket from the field in the last 3 minutes and 29 seconds of the game as well. So you bookend a really great defensive performance with absolutely just locking things down. And it kept them from, they got out to a 14-point lead there in the second half. Baylor's really talented. Of course, they're going to whittle that away a little bit, made free throws late, just all around. Yeah. It checked every box for how TCU basketball has to win games this year. And I thought it was a great start to league play. Now they get a Kansas team up in Lawrence on Tuesday night that lost to UCF. How many times has TCU played Kansas off of one of their only league losses since joining the conference? I have no idea. But, it's going to be a dogfight up in Lawrence on Tuesday afternoon. Anthony, I don't know if you had a chance to catch the game on Saturday.
I did not,
but
no.
Fun.
But I'm loving hearing this because we're big basketball fans here. I just haven't gotten into it. I've been super squared on the playoffs, but yes, I'm into it. I'll tell you this. I've been following Olivia Miles just because I just love her. I love her so much. I think she's so cool. I just the big afro running down the court and just old school and the creativity and what she's able to do with that. I love it. I can't get enough of it. So.
She's fantastic. Recorded her 10th triple-double of her career the other day.
Tim Duncan.
I think TCU had 4 triple-doubles collectively in the month of December. And
they had 5. She had 4 of them.
She had 4 of them.
Ties the all-time Big 12 record. Yeah.
Yeah. Marta Suarez had the other one. They each had a triple-double in the same game. If I'm
that was cool.
That correctly, which is pretty cool.
God.
Obviously, though, Saturday night didn't go well for the women. They lose in overtime to Utah, 87-77. Did I get that score right?
Yep, 87-77 in OT.
Just defensively wasn't where they needed to be. I think Utah shot 57% from 3-point range. Like at some point, you're going to have a clunker. This was really TCU's first clunker of the season. They're no longer undefeated, but I don't think that this is any kind of larger, definition of, how good is TCU really?
Yeah, I mean, there are some concerns that came out of this game, but it reminds me a lot of when they lost to Oklahoma State a season ago. Mark Campbell, in his refusal to call a timeout in late game situations, is turning my hair gray as much as my students are. And I love that for him and I both. But this was just a really bad effort from TCU, and those are bound to happen. They've been on the road for 5 days. They've been out west in Utah. They came off of a long 2-week break and then took a long road trip. So I'm not going to read too much into it. I've seen a lot of complaints about Olivia Miles' style. Listen, you take the good with the bad when you take Olivia Miles, and she single-handedly kept TCU in that game offensively. It was a bad defensive performance. I was talking to some WNBA people, and not the game she's going to want on tape when it comes to draft season, but also not going to keep her from getting drafted. Utah hit some really difficult shots. They hit some contested shots. The 3 they hit to tie it was off balance and fading away. And I know people want to say that TCU should have fouled, but there were 22 seconds left on the clock when they got the ball. That was not the time to foul to prevent a 3. It was way too early. So give credit to Utah. They played great. And TCU just played really bad. and it was just a bad game. So we saw the Frogs drop games to Oklahoma State and Kansas State a season ago on the road. It's hard to win Big 12 games on the road. Utah's a really physical and feisty team. I think they'll bounce back. They get Oklahoma State at home and Arizona State at home. I think they're going to play really, really well in those 2 games. I'm not worried about Marta Suarez. Some people are. I think that's ridiculous. This is a woman that's got a lot of experience under her belt. She'll be just fine. It was disappointing to not see another score step up Saturday night in Salt Lake City. I think that, to me, is my one concern. We've so consistently got 2 or 3. Marta did end, I think, with 21 points, but not a super efficient game for her. I think this team will be fine. I think this will be a teachable moment. Mark Campbell was very frustrated after the game, but also I think mostly frustrated because he knew these were all fixable things. So I expect the team to play really well the next couple of games. The Big 12 is going to be a grind, and Baylor sneakily is reestablishing themselves as a team to beat. They beat Iowa State on Sunday as we're recording this in Ames, I believe. That's a big win. This is going to be a really, really fun season. I'm once again, as I do every time we record, going to implore you guys to get to Schollmeyer Arena and support this team. Wednesday night against Oklahoma State, they're going to need you. Sunday afternoon against Arizona State. Again, if I need to provide a carrot outside of just supporting TCU, Molly Miller, Google her. That's all I need to tell you, the Arizona State coach. I will play that card if that's the hand I'm dealt. But TCU is really, really good. They need your support. We need to have the Schollmeyer rocking for this team, just like it was for the men against Baylor.
I will be there Sunday. I will also be there Wednesday, but I will be seated Sunday. Listen,
I won't be there Wednesday, but I will be flying in Sunday and coming straight from the airport to Schollmeyer Arena because I booked a flight that would get me home in time for that game.
Because you wanted to see Molly Miller, obviously. And I don't know.
Don't do that. I have this problem enough on my own. Don't do that to me.
Sorry. Okay, no, that's totally fair. That's completely fair. That's my bad.
I can appreciate a beautiful woman. Not for me. It's okay.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Also not for me, but
you're married. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, I think one of the things that I took away from
the show.
No, around 9:50 that the show just kind of went,
I got one more point to make, damn it, and I'm gonna make it. Watching the end of this game against Utah, one of the things that I picked up on that was something that we critiqued Mark Campbell for last year, Melissa, was the lack of stopping the opponent's momentum with a timeout.
Yeah.
And there were opportunities, I thought, especially in the fourth quarter of this game against Utah, to really slow the Utes down. The fans were super into it.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He kept his timeouts in his back pocket, especially late when TCU finally hit those couple of big threes, took that lead with less than a minute left in the game. A timeout, settle things down, set the defense, really make sure everyone's on the same page. He doesn't do it. A shooter gets open from the left wing, knocks down the 3 late. They go to overtime. The rest is history. Still something that I would like to see him do more. It's like my one critique of Campbell is it's okay to burn a timeout here and there when you feel like the things are starting to build up against you.
Can I posit a theory? And Anthony, I'd love your input on this too. I think sometimes coaches want to let their players figure it out themselves to establish where they should step in when it's, kind of nuts and bolts time. And so I feel, because this is exactly what happened against Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. He didn't call a timeout in the moment that he should have, and he did the same thing against Kansas State. But then the rest of the season, we saw him coaching up a lot more. He's got 10 new players. They're still figuring it out. This is just their 3rd conference game. He let them play through it at BYU, and they won. I think that he needs to give them, to a degree, enough rope to hang themselves so that he knows where his staff needs to step in when it really matters. This was not a terrible loss for this team. Utah's going to be a good conference team. But I think that this will be in a moment where he can be like, hey, I still need to be the coach here, but I let you guys have that leash. I trusted you guys in these moments. It didn't work out. That's okay. But now I have more authority to step in down the line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, in my opinion, anytime you have a coach that gives that much leeway, I think he's trying to feel out his team. I mean, they're still early in the season. As you said, they've been winning. This has been the first time that they've looked disappointing. So I think whenever you have adversity, the general rule is what? You learn more from losing than you do from winning, right? So I think this is one of the first times they've been faced with that kind of adversity. And it's a way to kind of step back, take a deep breath and say, okay, how are we handling this? Like, how are you guys handling it? And allowing his team to kind of play and seeing where they're at. As a fan, I'm sure that's super frustrating because you're like, call the fucking timeout. Like, so
that was me on the baseline.
What are you doing? What are you doing right now? Yeah,
So
but I think as we've experienced and we've been around, we've never been head coaches, but if you're the leader of a program, there has to be more poise there than the initial reaction of just this. It's a long-term thinking. And I think he's, in this case, Trebe, I agree. I think he's kind of feeling his team out and being like, can you guys dig yourselves out of it? Okay, you can't. All right, so next time I might call that timeout, or next time we might have to do something different. But it's still early. I think you're still feeling things out. You're still trying to see what's our identity and what kind of team we're going to be. So that would be my theory as to why he's holding timeouts. I'm with you. I'm going nuts in the corner, being like, call the damn timeout. But like, it's just, we're not those guys. We're not in the room where it happens.
This is true. And Mark Campbell's track record at TCU is pretty good.
It's pretty good. He was very upset after the game. He did give me a very vociferous, gosh darn it, in the elevator on the way down from the press conference. I know he was upset.
I think he's ever gotten to swearing.
Yeah, pretty much. I've sworn twice in front of him, and I remember both times because I felt really guilty after it.
Because he gave you a look, like a
no, he didn't even do it. I just was like, I immediately said, like, and it's both been hell both times. And I immediately said, I was like, I shouldn't say hell in front of Mark Campbell. I feel bad. So that's just that kind of person. He's just the best. But he would never make me feel badly about it because that's the kind of person he is.
This is true. That is the kind of person
I cursed in front of Mike Buddy the first time I met him, and I was like, shit.
Me too. I think Buddy's down with that, though. I think Buddy's cool.
I was like, I think he's cool with it, but I don't know.
It's all good. I think that is going to do it, though. At the 1 hour and 15-minute mark of this episode, for this episode of Frogs Insider, for Melissa Treebosser and Anthony Alabi, thank you for listening. We hope you're still listening. Be sure to go and leave a rating and a review.
Didn't enter the portal for fans.
Didn't enter the portal. No.
They're going over to Viva the Matadors, yeah.
We're sorry. Exactly. You're re-signed to Frogs Insider for a whole nother year, friends. Here we go. Leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts. Go to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it with a friend. Make sure that in 2026 we get in front of even more Horned Frog fans who want to talk ball, who want to know more. Super thankful that Anthony has been a part of this, and he's going to continue to be a part of this as well.
Thanks,
me too.
And so, let's just have a great 2026 all the way around, and we'll talk to you next time. Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.
Go Frogs.